Does the term beauty even mean anything anymore?
You're all a 10 out of 10 in mommy's eyes. Hey ladies, welcome back to the channel. I'm David, you're David, we're all David, and welcome to Dismantling Hate. Today, we are going to look at the YouTube channel called Think Before You Sleep. It's a very creative name.
Shade!
And the video in particular that we're going to be reacting to is called Why Woke People Are Making Everything Ugly. This video is about Dove's real virtual beauty campaign. So I can't wait to see how they are going to frame diversity, equity, and inclusion in a nefarious sense, because most people like this somehow manage to do that. So I'm gonna slide my bad self on over. I'm gonna have a sip of my morning Coca-Cola and we're gonna get started. Let's go! And like, it is walking the line of like freedom of speech. You know what? If we're gonna be out here and we're gonna be vulnerable on this channel here together, you and me, right now, right here, yeah. We should really be talking about that because that's harmful. All right, I'm ready. Are you ready? It's okay if you're not. Take a deep breath. It's gonna be okay because we're gonna do it together. Roll the transphobia. Okay, so like I said, this whole video is framed about the Dove campaign. So it looks like we're starting with an ad, but we're not really starting with an ad. So let's see what the problem is with Dove.
There are thousands of skins available to choose from. But finally, one that looks like mine.
Oh, I look so badass.
Okay, so the whole point here is that they created avatars inspired by real women to show how representation in games... Is something wrong grammatically there? To show how representation in games would look like. Oh, is there more to the sentence?
Lazy.
There was not more to the sentence. That seems like a grammatical issue. So it's just inclusion, right? Whoever Think Before You Sleep is, I don't know if they show their face. Coward. No, I don't know if they show their face, but they just come in and they go, lazy. Lazy. She's a lazy, lying woman and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania.
This is completely lazy. Are we ever going to get a new woke meta, or are they just going to keep using the same old hashtag first ever, insert perceived oppressed group, in a insert type of media? This is the first time a woman who looks like me has ever been put in a video game. Yeah, and Jennifer Lawrence was the first female lead in an action movie ever. I swear these people used to be more creative, but these days everything is so formulaic. That, and the fact that the people who made this ad clearly don't play video games, because there are plenty of them out there with extreme levels of character customization, and it's been that way for a while, as I remember that in Phantasy Star Online from over 20 years ago, you could customize your character to be a short person of size.
I don't look like that. Not everyone looks like that. A character that looks like me in a video game and be like, yo, this baby's fire.
Yes, you can do that. If you want to create an albino character with red hair in a game, that's possible. Please, Dove, tell me more about how things that already exist in video games don't exist. Or maybe I can watch another video from Vice about people who don't know how to use the mute button on a multiplayer game. Oh look, the ad comes with an article. We're bringing real beauty to the virtual world. Does the term beauty even mean anything anymore?
Wow, what a roundabout way to call all these people ugly. Okay, two things. Number one, he's talking about being lazy, but he's not showing his face, and he's not even using stock video. He's using stock images, and they don't really have anything to do with what he's saying. So that could be considered lazy, but of course that's not what we're here to discuss. Now, what we are here to discuss are these video game characters. So he's saying that there was customization available, which is fair, but I don't know if it's different. They were talking about skins. I don't play video games. I'm not a gamer in any sense of the word. I played Simpsons Hit and Run as a teenager, so maybe that's why I have road rage. Just kidding. No, I'm not. So maybe it's the difference between like just being able to pick a character that doesn't look like yourself. So like me as somebody, I could walk into this video game and pick the person that uses a wheelchair and I would just use that skin. It wouldn't be a representation of me and I wouldn't design that character, but rather it's just sitting there for my use as a video game skin. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference between you being able to pick a random character as yourself and you creating a character that either looks like you or doesn't. Maybe that's a difference. I don't think it matters, to be honest. I think we're grasping at straws, which is usually the case in these kind of videos. Okay.
Everybody just the same regardless of effort. You're all 10 out of 10s in mommy's eyes. Thanks for the participation trophy, Dove. Anyway, about a month ago, Dove came...
You're all a 10 out of 10 in mommy's eyes.
That's so upsetting.
Okay, let's continue.
their latest body positivity campaign by partnering with Epic Games and using the Unreal Engine to create 3D models of realistic women. Wait, this was done with Unreal Engine? Really? Why do all these models look like crappy World of Warcraft avatars from 2006? Dove has hundreds of millions of dollars and this is the best they can come up with for their banner? I mean, there are YouTubers working by themselves on no budget making full AAA quality playable renders with Unreal Engine, while these renders from Dove barely break the PS2 era. I understand that they showed like 3 seconds of content that looked decent, but then they showed this woman saying that she looks badass to this lower quality avatar, which kind of sets the tone for all these major companies constantly setting the bar lower and lower as time goes on, because they are too lazy to create quality products that are new and original.
Okay, I can understand that, but is that really what we're arguing here? I don't. It's this argument seems very spread out, and I'm not surprised. I'm just pointing that out.
While acting like a sleazy salesman who's trying to convince you that this unfinished piece of crap here is just as good as this incredible high-definition remaster of Ocarina of Time.
Okay.
Real beauty takes effort, and everything about this project from Dove says, we put no effort into this. For example,
you were not there. You don't exist. The things are not made for you.
Okay, I don't believe that statistic at all. Where did you get that number? Did you simply ask 3 of your British friends? Because
citation, trust me. Yeah, isn't that always the vibe?
I'm here speaking. I wouldn't lie to you. I promise. I wouldn't.
I can understand the argument he's making here in that some companies like Dove might be pandering to people who are different in order to make money from it, right? The commodification of pride. This isn't really pride, but there is this idea of commodifying diversity that definitely exists, and I think it is exploitative to people if it's used for nefarious intentions. That would be simply just wanting to make money from people's experiences, right? But if you're actually looking to make a difference and do it the right way and the respectful way, I think it's important, it's valuable, and it should be done. But if it's done just to make money, then that's gross. That's not his point, but it kind of is his point. I just take it a little bit step further for it to actually be worth listening to, in my opinion. Yeah, haven't found the filter yet, folks. Okay, let's keep going.
there's no way that most British women are eternally offended snowflakes who care about that kind of stuff. But more importantly, you might have noticed that there are subtitles in this video. Those aren't for deaf people. The reason they included subtitles is because the echo is so bad that you can't hear what they're saying. Where's the acoustic treatment? Did they record this in a square concrete building?
You were not there. You don't exist. The things are not made for you.
It's also hard to hear the people who are speaking because the mixing is bad.
Like, I get it. Video production is a whole thing, and people can make shitty videos. Hey, go back on my channel a year ago. Like, what are we actually arguing here? I don't see a point. And if your point is spread out too far, nobody's going to actually be able to understand what you're fighting for, which is usually the case because these people are fighting to be angry. Usually, right?
Loud. And the gain is turned up so high on their microphones that the audio is almost clipping. Was everyone on this project a diversity hire? This audio is about as pleasant to listen to as a bunch of feminists screaming into the microphone for their college play.
Okay, you know what? I'll give it to him. That's a funny cutaway. I'll give it to you. I want to use that clip. That's hilarious.
Since 2004, the Dove Self-Esteem Project has become the largest self-esteem education provider in the world. Well, I think I found your problem here. You see, attractive people have horrible self-esteem. That's why they spend insane amounts of time on the skill building and self-care that it requires to be attractive. I'll give you an example. This picture of Zendaya has been trending recently. This is no self-care Zendaya. This is self-care Zendaya.
No. You're not telling me that full glam is self-care. It can be a part of that, but like making yourself more classically attractive by societal standards is not by definition self-care, because that it can be for yourself, but in this instance, Zendaya is getting it together to be on a carpet or being photographed in a professional way. That's not self-care. If anything, that probably takes away from her self-care. She probably needs more self-care after this to get over all the photographers who were screaming at her. What the world are we watching?
You see the difference in appearance? One took effort, the other took no effort. Because of stuff like this, I really think this whole woke campaign, as well as the woke stuff in general, is an assault on effort because their main message is, you're fine the way you are. Which is
who are you putting in effort for? It could be argued that in those pictures, Zendaya was putting forth effort. I don't believe that she did her own hair and makeup, but even if she did, she wasn't putting in effort for herself, most likely. Like, she got herself together there in full glam, unfortunately, in my opinion, for the male gaze, right? Not G-A-Y-S, not the male gaze, honey, the male gaze, G-A-Z-E. Not everybody should have a platform, and I say that as a person with a platform. You should be educated, and rather, if you're not educated and not listening, because I do listen to these people. I've said he's made some okay points. I've said that I understand where he's coming from, but if you don't have a nuanced understanding of where our world has been and how it works beyond the conspiracy theories of whatever the hell, you're not going to see longevity as a content creator. By the time I'm 30, this man is probably not going to be out here making content, hopefully, but I'm going to be out here slinging videos until I'm 60, honestly. I could see that. I love making videos. I love making videos so much. I'm having the best time. I hope you are too. Ooh, what a great reminder. If you like what you're seeing, if you find me a little bit entertaining, subscribe to the channel. Like the video. I don't know. Comment algorithm down in the comments so the algorithm will push me out to other woke folks. Woke folks, that's my new band name. Are you a bass player? I need you. Woke folks.
Message if you have a really unreasonable insecurity. But also, if you tell people in general that they're already perfect, then the ones who are foolish enough to believe that will never strive to improve. And coincidentally, I think that those are often the people who would benefit the most from a little bit of low self-esteem.
It's not only about self-esteem, it's about what you can or cannot do with your life.
Okay, but how does a PS2 quality avatar for a failed ad campaign enable you to do things in your life that you previously could not do? Not to mention that video games are primarily about escapism, and if I'm playing a character, I want to play someone who is more attractive than me so I can self-insert and escape from my less glamorous life. Why would I want to fantasize about being ugly?
I think the delivery is really poor and like alienating, but I understand what he's saying. I don't know. This is weird. It is giving middle schooler behind a mic, but I think there's some good ideas that would be workshoppable here, in my opinion. But the delivery of it, and maybe it's the tone, I don't know what it is. It sounds like it's coming from somebody with a lot of low self-esteem, which is fair. I've been there, I get it.
The point of playing a video game is to be able to do things that you can't do in real life, like fly or shoot laser beams out of your eyes, or be a dolphin. Games are designed to be unrealistic, and that's what makes them fun. I just want to be able to play my Japanese bug-collecting self-improvement game, where I can completely ignore all the themes of animal abuse and slavery because it's not real life. That being said, there's a second part to this Dove campaign, where they decided to feature one of the models in her own commercial. Now, looking at this cast, if we're trying to promote body positivity, we have several people here who look a certain way because of how they were born, or they're in a situation that's no fault of their own. There's Sam, who is in a wheelchair, Lily, a woman with Down syndrome, and Coco, a woman with a skin disease that caused her to lose her pigmentation. Surely these women are all great choices to promote self-acceptance in the face of a situation that you can't change. Nope, Dove picked the obese woman.
What?
Are we still going to gaslight people into thinking that body positivity has anything to do with being compassionate and understanding towards people who are victims of unfortunate circumstances? I hope not, because obviously it's all just a fat acceptance narrative and a way to enable food addicts who are too in denial to fix their health issues and their appearance.
Okay, so, okay, this is a heavy one. I've thought about this a lot, so I think I can do this pretty efficiently. Is that, yes, I do believe that as human beings, we have an incredible amount of control over our bodies. When it comes to our weight, of course, there are obviously situations that preclude some folks from being able to manage their weight in ways that they want to, or rather in ways that they see fit. Some of these can include medical conditions, and there's so much nuance behind why a person would be overweight or obese and doesn't want to be, but feels like they're trapped within that body. And some of these things are medical conditions. I think the problem, though, is that some folks really lean into the fact that they might have a certain medical condition that precludes them from being able to have autonomy over their own body. And if that serves as an excuse for some folks, and they're saying it's not within their capacity to do so just because it's more difficult, I think that can be a bit of a problem and ultimately doesn't serve the person that is thinking those things. However, as a past food addict myself, I used to weigh 330 pounds. I've lost over 150 at this point. That's a lot. That's a whole human being. Anyway, I've dealt with food addiction, and for me, it didn't have anything to do with a medical condition. It was trauma.
Generational trauma.
From so many different directions. That's not any less valid, Like, sure, you can work through trauma. I've been in therapy for over a decade, girl. I'm still working on that stuff. That doesn't mean that we should just throw all those people away because it's their fault. They have control over it. And like, yes, you do have control over it. It's also an addiction. So maybe a bit more empathy, right? I hate the idea that it's, oh, I have a medical condition, so it's not my fault, and I'm gonna be like this even though I'm unhappy, right? I find a lot of folks fall into that category, that they're clearly not happy with themselves. They have like an overinflated sense of self-confidence when you can tell it's not actually genuine because they're attempting to convince everybody else around them that they're so confident in themselves and in their body when they're clearly not. But I think just more empathy. More empathy is always good because, okay, let's say that I'm right? And it's so individualized per person. I'm not going to be right for everybody and I'm not going to be wrong for everybody, right? It's a spectrum with nuance. But even if I'm right for everybody, I'm going to be more helpful if I lead with empathy versus just, oh, you're fat and it's your fault and you're just lazy and you're not doing anything. The studies show that shame is not a good motivator. So I don't know who you think you're helping. No one, in fact.
It's not the first time this has been done either. Here's an article from 2015 talking about body positivity edits in video games, where all they do is make every character fat and disparage girls who naturally have curves. As for why this movement is so important to Dove, well, there's a reason for that, but first, I have to make a correction. In a previous video, I said that the owners of Dove, Unilever, had a vested interest in fat acceptance because they own Ben & Jerry's ice cream. I have to apologize for that statement because it was extremely inaccurate. Unilever actually owns 5 different ice cream brands. They own a popular mayonnaise brand, they own Popsicle, and they sometimes partner with Nabisco to make good humor versions of Oreos.
You know what, though? This is absolutely a valid point here, is because keeping people overweight by feeding them garbage like this, it is garbage, and I'm not above this. I'm not saying that I don't eat garbage. 3 nights ago, I had a whole Ben & Jerry's to myself, girl. Obesity is commodified in this way because then you get the pharmaceutical companies in and then you can sell them Ozempic and then you can sell them this and that. Like, I've been on the weight loss drugs. I've tried different things. I've lived a life where I only ate non-nutrient dense food like this. Like, it is a business. It is capitalism. And this is definitely a good point. But it's like, what are we using your point to encourage or prove here? Wow. Okay, let's keep going.
These make up most of their food brands, and the remaining ones are still pretty much processed junk food. So is it a surprise that they would use their soap company to promote an ideology that causes people to buy more junk food like ice cream? No, it can't be about that. It's about over-sexualizing women.
What?
Había 2 personajes, mujeres, nada más. Los dos eran 2 personajes súper sexualizados. Y nada, eran las 2 opciones que tenía para elegir.
Sorry, for some reason they had her speak Spanish even though she can speak English, but she said 2 female characters from a game that they never identified were over-sexualized. whatever that means, because they'll call Laura Croft hypersexualized for just standing there and doing nothing sexual.
Well, it might be the outfit. Like, come on now. You're not telling me that women aren't over-sexualized in video games and movies and everything. Like, that's absolutely the case. There's like a few points in here that are pretty good, but they're buried under I think it's just a lack of life experience. And you know what? That's the only thing that you can't go out and get today. So I understand. I've been there too.
I get it. Video games sexualize women way too much. Let's see how Dove intends to remedy this problem. Well, that's one way to start. We have a woman here who was fully covered up, who then changed into something that was more revealing. She basically is in the same outfit that Laura Croft was in. Let's see what's next. So now we have a bent over ass shot that is center of the frame that adds nothing to the story. They went full on anime camera angles, and somehow they're going to claim that it's not an attempt at sexualizing the character. Where exactly did you get that stat? This time it says 74%, so on this occasion, they would have had to survey at least 50 people. That's more than 3, but what did they do? Survey the office? How exactly did they ask the questions in the survey? Because there's no way that much of the general population agrees with this woke narrative, considering that in places like America, half the population are conservatives who don't care about this, and
I'm going to say the same thing about that Dove statistic as the statistic that he just gave. It's good to be critical of statistics. I took a quantitative and qualitative research course this summer, and it just really showed me how statistics and surveys and all of that is usually biased as hell and not valid. So yeah, I think it's good to be questioning of statistics and asking those questions of who did you ask, what questions did you ask, and all of that. I think that's a good piece of critical thinking. But I'd say the same thing for he's like, half of the US is conservative. I mean, like, oh, the time is we'll see if half, like, it's just, yeah.
Liberals are anti-feminist too. So there's no way you got a vast majority on this one. The proof being that you had to censor the comments on the video. But considering that all the anti-capitalist YouTubers are now calling stuff like this performative wokeness, I doubt you even have them on your side.
Woke washing, similar to greenwashing and pinkwashing, is a type of performative capitalism. Companies these days often brand themselves as being woke, either by posting like a Black Lives Matter post on Instagram.
This is a really important conversation to be had, absolutely. But it's like, are the values that you are touting actually aligning with the actions that you take as a business, as a company, as an entity? Because the problem with this kind of mindset is like, okay, this performative wokeness for capitalism is absolutely a thing. If you slap a rainbow up for Pride Month and you post one Black Lives Matter thing and that's it, that's performative. But if your values and actions as a company are reflected with your sense of promoting pride or promoting anti-racist values, there's actually a way that you can make it non-performative if you internalize those values as a company in your day-to-day operations. But the problem for me and where this gets dangerous is even the companies that don't do this in a performative way can then be labeled as performative wokeness, even though they might actually just really care about that. And they're actually putting action behind it. It would be easy for these folks to just throw it away as a performance. Like, oh, you're just doing it to make money. I'm like, no, what if they actually care? What if they're actually doing something? There's a difference that requires critical thinking that I think a lot of people lack, which is sad. It's really sad. I don't know who this creator is. I've never seen them before. Let's see what else they have to say.
Or by showing a diverse range of models in their ad campaigns, because they know being more progressive is monetizable these days.
Here's what I mean when I say it's performative. Let's remove the fact that they focused on the one person who could actually change her appearance, probably because she's more relatable to the majority of the Dove audience and will thus sell more soap, which kind of goes against their whole message of giving representation to people who don't normally get it. Obese women already have a ton of representation. But let's forget about all that and bring it
Do they? Do they?
to the idea that this campaign was supposed to be about accepting real beauty. At the end of the ad, they showed this image here that says, learn more about Cynthia's real story at dove.com/realvirtualbeauty. Now take a look at this picture. If this is supposed to be about real beauty, then why did you edit her appearance to be more conventionally attractive? The most obvious thing they did is that they removed her double chin. Also, if you zoom in, you can see they removed her smile lines as well, and they straightened her hair. And don't tell me that it's harder to render curly hair. This was done by a AAA company, and you can see the individual strands of her hair on her avatar. They can figure out curly hair. The ridiculousness of this situation reminds me of that guy who fixed the Anita Sarkeesian Feminist Frequency logo. That was a classic. Now let's go back to the original image, because this is even more egregious. They made Cynthia taller than she actually is. You can see here that she's shorter than the black girl, but her avatar is taller than her. That or they took all these pictures separately, and Dove did a bad editing job. They used better makeup on Cynthia to give her more contrast in her face, and yet again straightened her hair.
Like, yeah, I understand what he's saying. I really do. Like, but I don't know if it's making the point that he's trying to make. This is interesting.
Don't tell me that they can't do curly hair here, because there is a curly hair avatar standing right next to her. And on the subject of things being ironically racist, the black girl is the only one who looks worse than she does in real life. You have a decent looking woman here, and they did her dirty. They made her shorter and fatter. Her real hairstyle looks way better than the avatar. They made her less fashionable by closing her jacket, which removes the layering on her torso.
I mean, it's all very subjective, right? I don't really have any comments to make here on their physical appearance, on like what looks good or better, you know, like.
Don't say they can't add in layering, because both the white girls have more layered clothing in their 3D avatars than they do in person. Coco is also the only one that didn't give makeup, and the render of her avatar is so poor that the face looks glued on, like a character from GoldenEye for Nintendo 64.
I look so badass.
How did they trick her into saying that? Now, to be fair, there was a higher quality render of her, but this image still makes her look bad, and my question is, if they had those renders, then why did they use these garbage ones for the main page of the campaign? It sends a confusing message, because the campaign is about empowering less attractive people by altering their appearance to be more attractive.
What do you mean less attractive people? Like, that just blows my mind that you'd sit there and say that. Like, attractiveness is so subjective. You know what I mean? Like, one person's opinion does not attractiveness make.
While also choosing to promote the less attractive renders of the avatars that they made. It lacks what the film industry calls continuity, which is just another form of showing how low effort this entire campaign was. And that really fits the philosophical narrative of woke ideology. Their whole message is, don't put effort into anything, don't fix yourself, meritocracy doesn't exist, and don't make things beautiful.
Sorry, what did he just say? We gotta go back for that.
And that really fits the philosophical narrative of woke ideology.
Okay, the philosophical narrative of the woke ideology is...
Their whole message is, don't put effort into anything.
Don't put effort into anything. What?
Fix yourself, meritocracy doesn't exist, and don't make things beautiful.
I don't even really understand where that's coming from or what that... what? You lost me, girl.
Literally in every facet of their ideology. Look at the art they produce. This is not the only example. In fact, recently, I was in New York with Brittany Venti to go to someone's wedding. On that trip, we hung out with a friend of hers and went to a modern art museum called the Whitney. Here's a picture I took of the building. Now, while you're enjoying my vacation slideshow, I want you to imagine what kind of art that you would see in a modern art museum. Then take that picture in your head and lower the quality by a factor of 10. Here's what Brittany and I saw at the art museum. I am 95% sure that I, with no art experience, can draw better than this.
Oh God, what a tired trope. Like, again, it's so subjective, and you taking one picture of one thing being like, I could do better than this. Actually, according to my calculations, I could do so much. Like, it just, it's tired. It's tired. It's boring.
Keep in mind that we paid money to get in. It was $25 a person, and I bought all the tickets, so I paid $75 to see a museum full of art made by adults that looks like a fourth grader did it.
Like, point of order, who cares? Literally, who gives a rip?
We were just there to laugh, so I think it was worth it. But imagine thinking that this image looks good.
But that's the thing, though. It really shows immaturity. It really shows a lack of life experience. Like, art is supposed to elicit a feeling. And even if that feeling is something negative, like, I can find things in this art that would elicit a feeling from me. Do I think it's good? Do I think it's bad? My judgment on the quality of it isn't really the point of the art.
Did somebody mention art?
So much crap in the frame that I have no idea what to focus on. But apparently, a lot of anti-capitalist YouTube channels think that this style of art that has all the grace of a messy room looks good because a number of them use this ugly style of elementary school collage art to create their thumbnails. If you think that these 3 examples are the only ones that I have, then you'd be wrong. But let me guess, this is a commentary on capitalism, right? That's always the case with modern art. The ironic part of this trip is that right across the street from the Whitney, there is this beautiful piece of architectural art called Little Island on the Hudson River that you can just walk into for free, and it was built by a rich capitalist named Barry Diller. Why would I pay to see kindergarten art when I can see art that is actually good for free? If woke people are really focused on the betterment of mankind, then why do they keep making things ugly?
Do you know anything about the artists that made those pieces that you were just disparaging? Like, what if that terrible art was made by Elon Musk? Like, then would you change your tune? Do you actually know that it's made by, like, liberalist, whoever? Like, this is so childish and immature to me.
Why did they use a game like Fable to take an actress with attractive facial features and make her ugly in the game?
Okay.
However, personally, I think we are nearing the end of this nonsense, and here's why. If you pay attention, then you'll realize that people or companies will pretty much strive to get away with whatever you let them get away with. When you assert boundaries, that's when they stop. The craziest adults are the ones who didn't have boundaries asserted on them when they were younger. Setting boundaries is important. For example, look at how many major battles that woke companies have lost this June. Bud Light is essentially dead as a brand, and it turns out that companies like Starbucks aren't that attached to the message when they found out that sticking to their morals was going to cost them a ton of money. They will continue to throw this crap in your face until you say no. And if you really pay attention, then you'll notice that over the past couple decades, a lot of the messaging and cultural events have been geared towards removing your ability to stand up for yourself. Why do you think that feminists and woke people have been praising feminine soy boys who can't stand up for themselves and constantly describe normal, healthy, non-abusive male behavior as toxic? The purpose of that...
Well, oh God, it's all so subjective. Like, non-abusive... I mean, inherently is not subjective, but I think to some folks like this, it is subjective what you would define that as. It's all, no, I don't agree with anything that's been said here in the last minute. I think it's garbage.
Raise weak men who are too afraid to assert boundaries.
But like, what boundaries are you asserting on other people? Like, it's all very like, give me examples. What boundaries are we asserting? Like, no, queer people can exist, but I don't know if that's the subtext of this either. It just, this is very like meandery, without a lot of like structure to the conversation, but that's usually what gets clicks by people who subscribe to this idea of wokeness being a bad thing. Yeah.
When they grow up, they'll just let the elites walk all over them. In many different ways, they're trying to reduce the number of people who will resist their messed up policies and ideologies. So the way this gets fixed is by individuals working on themselves on the micro level so that we can group together and fix things on the macro level. First off, realize that things like building wealth or getting rich is not about the ability to buy expensive cars and live in luxury. The reason you get rich is so that you have the ability to say no and remove yourself from or opt out of abusive situations. Poor people can't do that, which is why you should be doing everything you can to make money, not overspend, and prevent the elites from stealing it from you through inflation or insanely high taxes.
There are good pieces here, but the way that it's rolled up into one sentence gives me whiplash.
Second, we all need to get better at setting boundaries and asserting ourselves properly. Don't just let people walk all over you. Say no to or renegotiate situations that you feel are unfair, or do what you can to speak out when there's a problem.
But couldn't that be said for the other side too? So then if both people are asserting boundaries, one of them is discriminatory and one of them probably isn't, like who's going to win? That's not really like the tied up in a bow and like it's all perfect and done the way that he's framing it here.
If we increase the number of people who will stand up for themselves, the more things will get fixed. Personally, I have no idea how to do things like get airports to stop treating people like prisoners. But what I do know is that if we have more people out there who aren't willing to get stepped on, then one of those brave people will figure out the answer, and then we can all band together and support that person. Just like what happened with Bud Light. Then we move on to support the next person who figures it out somewhere else. This problem gets resolved at the individual level. We need a strong populace of regular people who stand up for themselves in order to give birth to the kind of person who is brave enough to figure out answers to the big problems. So help that along by fixing your personal weaknesses. Stop backing down in the face of conflict. You're making your life worse and making society worse by doing that. Start thinking of ways that you can put up resistance. And just to be clear, I'm not saying scream at people or be violent. I'm just saying make your voice heard. You can do that without being aggressive. But I'm sure there have been times in your life where you could have said something, but you didn't. Next time, do whatever you can to not let that happen again, even if your actions are small. It gets easier with practice. Anyway, thanks for watching, follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next video.
So that's the end of that video there. Yeah, in conclusion, it wasn't all bad. I think there was a handful of pretty okay ideas in this video, but the way that they were presented and organized was giving elementary. And yeah, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm sure I've had videos where I came across in a similar fashion. But I think we need to give this person a little bit more time and life experience, because it strikes me as they're very young, or rather don't have experience in education. Anyway, yeah, but I think a lot of really harmful things are being perpetuated in this video, and I don't think this person really even has the understanding of those harmful things and how it's not serving them either in most cases. I don't know, whiplash here. I think woke just means that you are aware of how your behavior affects other people, and it's not some big conspiracy theory. I think it's a red herring, and it's a word used to group people into a hateful ideology. I'm kind of lost for words because this was really poorly done. So thanks for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, it means you probably really care about this, and I appreciate you being here because I really care about this stuff too. So if you like my commentary and my beef jerky face, subscribe to my channel. Like the video if you like the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd really be interested to know. I have a podcast called Talk with David Day. You can watch on YouTube or listen on Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, Threads. Threads is a disaster. Anyway, follow me there if you're interested in that. Thanks again for being here. I appreciate you. And until the next one, goodbye. And like, it is walking the line of like freedom of speech. You know what? If we're gonna be out here and we're gonna be vulnerable on this channel here together, you and me, right now, right here, yeah. We should really be talking about that, because that's harmful. All right, I'm ready. Are you ready? It's okay if you're not. We'll take a deep breath. It's gonna be okay, because we're gonna do it together. Roll the transphobia.